That's what C is. Now, are there any questions about that? Because we're going to do another one. Cool. All right, let's do another one then. Okay, so here, this is a little bit different, mostly because the angle here is 70 degrees. And also I'm giving you the hypotenuse, which is C. C is the hypotenuse here. Okay? C. Telling you it's 8. I know the triangle isn't drawn to scale, but that's okay. Well, if we want to figure out what B is, well, excuse me, we're going to figure out what B is. We're also going to figure out what A is, but we're not going to use Pythagorean's theorem. Now, to figure out what B is, right? To figure out what B is, well, we know the hypotenuse, right? B is the adjacent side, right? B is adjacent. So we have the adjacent, we have the hypotenuse. We want, so what trig function are we going to use? We're going to use cosine. Okay? So we have the adjacent. No, excuse me, we're looking for the adjacent. We want the hypotenuse. So we got to use cosine, as indicated here. Cosine of 70 degrees is adjacent, which is B, divided by C, the hypotenuse. And we know C is 8, so we get this. So really then, right, we get cosine of 70 degrees is B divided by 8. Okay. B divided by 8. That's good. Now we can figure out what B is, which is what we're looking for. How do we do that? We're going to multiply both sides by 8, right? Doing so, these cancel. Cosine of 70 degrees times 8 is going to equal B, which is what we have here. And so B then is 8 times cosine of 70 degrees. Now, what is cosine of 70 degrees? Well, that's where our calculator comes in. That's what this is. So we get 8 times that. And so from here, we get this. You know, again, this came from the calculator. You want to make sure you're in degree mode, okay? And when you multiply by 8, you get this. And so B then is about 2.7362. So, you know, I round to 4 decimal places. I'll tell you how many decimal places to round to. Just, again, you want to make sure you use more than, the number of decimal places I tell you to round to. Are there any questions about this one? So if I were to tell you to round to 4 decimal places, okay, you want to use, I would use at least 6 decimal places in your calculations. So, the more the better, but you don't want to use too many. All right. So now we know what we know what B is. We're not going to use B to figure out what A is, but how would you get A? Well, A is the opposite side, okay? A is the opposite side. C is the hypotenuse, right? So we have hypotenuse, right? That's A. We're looking for that. the hypotenuse is what we have. The opposite side is A. That's what we're looking for. So we got to use sine. So we know what C is, okay? C is the hypotenuse. A is the opposite side. That's what we're looking for. Opposite, hypotenuse. We get S. We get sine is what we're going to use. So that's what we're doing here. And it's very similar to the last problem, basically, right? I mean, because it's opposite over hypotenuse, A over C. C we have is 8 by assumption. So sine of 70 degrees is A over 8. Sine of 70 degrees is A over 8. So what do we do? Well, again, we want to solve for A. Let's multiply both sides by 8. These are going to, right? These cancel. You get sine of 70 degrees times 8 equals A. That's equal to A. And so A is 8 times 70 degrees. Sine of 70 degrees, again, calculator is what I would use, okay? Here I used 8 decimal places, but that's okay. Then 8 times this, we get this number. You want to round then to 4 decimal places, and this is what we get. That's good. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, so the next problem is synthetic division. Okay, now from here, right, we have this polynomial f of x, and we know that 3 is a root. That's being given to us. I mean, you could check also, but it turns out f of 3 is a root. So we're going to use synthetic division to factor this thing, right? Because since 3 is a root by the factor theorem, x minus 3 is a factor of this. X minus 3 is a factor of this. Okay, so we're going to divide by x minus 3. Since we're dividing by x minus a number, what we can do is just use synthetic division. The 3 is the first number here. These numbers are the coefficients of the dividend, which is this. What you're dividing by, x minus 3 here, that's our divisor, right? And again, we usually use 0 as placeholders if there are missing terms, but there's no missing terms here. All right, so what happens next? This 1 comes down, as you can see, right? And again, 3 goes here. Wait, let me fix that, right? So we have 3 from x minus 3. The coefficients we list here, and each one gets its own column, okay? Good. Now we bring the 1 down. So now this 1 comes down, and then we're going to multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 is what goes here, as you can see down below. And then what do? You're going to add. You're going to add these two together and get 11, which, as you can see, is here. Okay, so again, bring the 1 down, multiply. The product goes here. You add, as you can see, and the sum goes here. What's next? You repeat the process. So now you're going to do 3 times 11, and that's 33. 33. That goes up here. Then we add these two, that gives us 28, which is down here. Almost there. So 3 times 28, that's 84, right? That's what's going to go here. And that's 84, that's what goes here. And then what goes in this box? You just add the two. You add these two numbers, you get 0. And remember, the last number here, this is the remainder. These numbers are the quotient, the coefficients of the quotient. That's what these are. The quotient is 1 degree less than the dividend. So our dividend is this, right? This is degree 3. Our quotient will be degree 2. We'll actually have x squared plus 11x plus 28 here. This number here is the remainder. In this case, our remainder is 0. Good. All right, beautiful. So altogether then, by the division algorithm, our dividend is equal to our divisor by our times our quotient plus the remainder. The remainder is 0, so we just have this product. All right, that's good. But now, since we want to factor this, the x minus 3 has been factored out. We want to factor this thing. This isn't that bad, actually. And why is that? Well, because we have a trinomial of degree 2. The leading coefficient is 1, right? So we do that method that we saw earlier in the course, right? The factor. We want two numbers whose product is the quotient, but the sum is the coefficient of x. So we want two numbers whose product is 28. And the sum is 11. Well, how about 7 and 4? Right, 7 times 4 is 28. 7 plus 4, that's 11, so that works. So that's what we get here. So we put it in, right? We put this in, the product, we have 7 and 4. We put the x plus 7 times x plus 4 in. And we get x minus 3 times x plus 7 times x plus 4. And that's our answer.